AI can pass the bar exam in the 90th percentile. It can write a sonnet in the style of Shakespeare in 3 seconds flat. It can even explain quantum entanglement to a 5-year-old. But ask it to count how many letter R's are in the word strawberry, and the most advanced intelligence on the planet might look you in the eye and say, 2. This isn't a glitch. It's not a bug in the code. It is the single most important clue to understanding what AI actually is and why you are likely using it wrong. We have been sold a narrative that these machines are thinking, that they are reasoning, planning, and understanding the world just like we do, only faster. But that narrative is crumbling under the weight of new data. If you have ever felt a weird sense of confusion when AI generates a brilliant essay but fails a simple logic puzzle, you aren't crazy. You are noticing the cracks in the facade. You are sensing that the ghost in the machine might just be a mirror trick. And here is the good news. Once you stop expecting AI to be a magic thinking machine, you can stop being disappointed by it. And more importantly, you can start using it to run circles around the people who still think it's magic. In late 2025, researchers at Apple published a bombshell study called The Illusion of Thinking. Their findings were uncomfortable for the hype cycle, but essential for you. They found that leading AI models, the ones we use every day, aren't reasoning through problems. They are relying on sophisticated pattern matching. They haven't learned how to think, they have learned how to mimic the sound of thinking. This distinction changes everything about how you should work, create, and make decisions. Chapter 1. The Infinite Librarian Paradox. I want you to imagine a librarian, but not just any librarian. This librarian has read every single book in existence. They have memorized every encyclopedia, every novel, every scientific paper, and every Reddit thread. If you ask them a question that appears in a book, they can recite the answer perfectly. They sound incredible. They sound like a genius. But here is the catch. This librarian has lived their entire life in a windowless basement. They have never seen a sunset. They have never tasted an apple. They have never felt heartbreak or scraped a knee. They know the definition of gravity, but they have never felt the sensation of falling. This is exactly what a large language model is. It is a statistical engine that predicts the next likely word based on billions of examples of human text. It doesn't know facts, it knows the patterns of facts. Think about what this means for your daily work. When you ask AI to write an email, it's amazing because it has seen millions of emails. It knows the pattern of polite professional follow-up better than you do. But when you ask it to solve a novel logic puzzle that no one has ever written down before, the librarian is stumped. There is no book to reference. There is no pattern to match. Ilya Sutskever, one of the brilliant minds behind the modern AI revolution, put it bluntly in late 2025. He noted that while these models are very good at learning specific tasks, they do not seem to learn the principles behind those tasks. This explains the strawberry problem. The model hasn't seen the concept of counting letters in a specific word enough times to form a reliable pattern. It doesn't see the letters. It sees a token, a mathematical representation of a chunk of text. It's guessing the answer based on probability, not counting based on logic. Most people treat AI like a smart intern. They hand off a task and assume the AI understands the context, the goal, and the nuance. This is dangerous. The smart intern might nod and say yes, but if the task requires real-world judgment, they will hallucinate a plausible-sounding answer just to complete the pattern. Smart people treat AI differently. They treat it like the world's greatest reference tool, not the world's greatest thinker. Chapter 2. The Map versus Territory Fallacy. Imagine you are in New York City. You ask a local for directions to Central Park. They tell you exactly which streets to turn on, which landmarks to pass, and how long it will take. They clearly understand the city. Now imagine you ask someone who has simply memorized a map of New York, but has never actually been there. They might give you the exact same directions. But what happens when there is construction on Fifth Avenue? The local immediately adjusts. They understand the territory, the flow of traffic, the alternative routes, the physical reality of the city. The map memorizer crashes. Their pattern has been broken, and they have no underlying model of reality to fall back on. A groundbreaking 2025 study from MIT and IBM highlighted this exact issue. They found that AI models could give perfect directions in known scenarios, but introduce a simple, novel detour, something any human with basic spatial reasoning could figure out, and the AI fails. Why? Because the map is not the territory. AI has the map. You live in the territory. This is your massive advantage. We hear so much fear-mongering about AI taking jobs, but the jobs that require navigating the territory, dealing with messy human emotions, adapting to sudden changes, making judgment calls with incomplete data, are safe. Actually, they are more than safe. They are about to become premium. The AI can provide the standard operating procedure. It can give you the textbook answer. But you are the one who has to decide if the textbook applies to the messy reality in front of you. Think about the last time you tried to use AI to solve a complex, unique problem at work. Maybe it gave you a solution that sounded perfect on paper, but was completely unimplementable in real life. That wasn't a failure of the tool. It was a failure of expectations. You expected it to understand the territory. It only knew the map. Your job is to bridge that gap. Chapter 3. The 19% Tax and the 5% Secret. Let's talk about productivity. Everyone assumes that using AI makes you faster. It seems obvious, right? If a machine writes the code or the email in seconds, you must be saving time. But the data tells a hauntingly different story. A randomized control trial in July 2025 found something shocking. Developers using AI were actually 19% slower than those working without it on certain complex tasks. 19% slower. And here's the kicker. Those same developers thought they were 20% faster. How is that possible? How can you be slower but feel faster? It's the review and repair trap. The AI generates a draft instantly. You feel a dopamine hit of progress. Look, I'm 80% done, you tell yourself. But then you have to read it. You have to check it. You have to debug the code that looks right but doesn't run. You have to rewrite the email that sounds robotic. That review process often takes longer than just doing the work yourself would have. An EY Global survey backs this up. They found that while 88% of employees are using AI, only 5% are using it effectively. That is a massive gap. Most people are in the 83%, the group that is pasting generic prompts, getting generic garbage, and spending hours trying to polish it into something usable. They are falling for the productivity illusion. But the 5%? The 5% are doing something different. They aren't using AI to replace their thinking. They are using AI to accelerate their doing. They understand the difference between a judgment task and a pattern task. A judgment task requires understanding truth, context, and quality. A pattern task requires formatting, summarizing, or iterating. The 5% give the pattern tasks to the AI and keep the judgment tasks for themselves. Chapter 4. The Pattern versus Judgment Protocol. So, how do you actually apply this? How do you join that elite 5%? It starts with a simple audit you can do right now. I call it the pattern test. Before you type a single character into a prompt box, ask yourself one question. Is the outcome I need based on a predictable pattern, or does it require a judgment of truth? Let me show you what I mean. Writing a Python script to scrape a website? Pattern. There are millions of examples of this. AI will crush it. Deciding which data is ethically safe to scrape? Judgment. That requires understanding law, morality, and risk. AI will give you a plausible answer, but it won't be a principled one. Here's another one. Summarizing a 2-hour meeting transcript? Pattern. It's just compressing text. Deciding who to promote based on that meeting? Judgment. That requires reading the room, understanding interpersonal dynamics, and knowing company politics. Do you see the difference? The AI handles the form of the work. You handle the substance of the work. Most people mix these up. They ask AI for judgment, what should my business strategy be? And they do the pattern work themselves, formatting the slides. This is completely backwards. You should use your brain for the strategy, the high-value judgment, and use the AI to build the slides, format the text, and clean up the grammar. Flip the script. Outsource the pattern, guard the judgment. Chapter 5. The Confidence Check. There is one more trap we need to disarm. It's the reason AI is so persuasive even when it's dead wrong. AI models are calibrated to sound confident. They don't have a voice of uncertainty. They don't hem and haw. They don't say, "I'm not sure, but maybe," unless they are explicitly programmed to do so by a safety filter. Generally, they speak with the authority of a tenured professor. Think of AI like the mansplainer at a party. He speaks in complete sentences. He projects total certainty. He uses big words. But if you actually know the subject he is talking about, you realize he is making half of it up as he goes along. If you trust his tone, you get fooled. If you trust your own knowledge, you see right through him. You need to develop a new instinct. I call it the autocorrect instinct. When you type on your phone and autocorrect changes a word, you don't blindly accept it as divine truth. You glance at it. You check it. You know that it's just a prediction algorithm trying to be helpful. You need to apply that exact same level of skepticism to LLMs. Just because it generated 3 paragraphs of text in perfect English does not mean the ideas in that text are true. Truth and fluency are not the same thing. AI has mastered fluency. Truth is still your department. Chapter 6. The Cyborg Workflow. When you put all of this together, you get a new way of working. You stop asking, "Will AI replace me?" That's the wrong question. The librarian can't replace the explorer, but the explorer who refuses to visit the library is going to be slow, inefficient, and uninformed. The goal is to become the cyborg librarian. Picture this workflow. You have a complex problem to solve. You don't ask the AI to solve it for you. Instead, you use your judgment to break the problem down into small, pattern-heavy components. You ask the AI to draft ideas. You ask it to summarize research. You ask it to format your messy thoughts into a clean structure. But at every step, you are the editor. You are the director. You are treating the AI output as raw material, not the final product. This is the draft, not final rule. Never, ever treat an AI output as a final deliverable. Treat it as a first draft that saved you the terror of the blank page. The 5% who get massive productivity gains understand this. They know that it is easier to edit than to create from scratch. So they let the pattern matcher create, and they let the human edit. That creates a loop of speed and quality that neither human nor machine could achieve alone. We are entering an era where knowing things is becoming less valuable than verifying things. The cost of generating text has dropped to 0, but the value of discernment, of knowing what is good, true, and useful, is skyrocketing. If you treat AI as a thinking machine, you will let your discernment atrophy. You will become dependent on a system that doesn't actually understand the world. But if you treat it as a pattern matcher, you keep your discernment sharp. You stay in the driver's seat. Think about the skill you spent the last year mastering. If that skill was just memorizing patterns, learning syntax, memorizing case law, remembering Excel formulas, you are in the danger zone. The librarian can do all of that. But if your skill involves navigating ambiguity, if it involves understanding human needs, if it involves connecting dots that aren't in the same book, that is where your value lies. Let's go back to the strawberry. The AI counts the tokens, gets the math wrong, and says 2. The person who thinks AI is magic gets confused and says, AI is broken. The person who thinks AI is useless says, see, it's all hype. But you smile. You realize that this machine is an incredible tool for text prediction, but it needs you to do the counting. It needs you to do the thinking. It needs you to live in the territory. Technology isn't going to save you. It is going to leverage you. If you are passive, it leverages your passivity into obsolescence. If you are active, if you bring judgment, skepticism, and curiosity to the table, it leverages your humanity into a superpower. Don't be the person waiting for the magic box to give you the answer. Be the person who knows how to ask the question. Now, I want to turn this back to you. Does this shift from thinking machine to pattern matcher change how you view your daily work? Does viewing AI as a librarian change how you plan to use it? Or do you think the models are smarter than I'm giving them credit for? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to join the 5% who are staying ahead of the curve, hit that subscribe button and let's stop being confused by the machine and start mastering it. See you in the next one.